In 2017, Donald Trump and former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker announced that Foxconn would be building a $10 billion factory in the town of Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin. And the whole idea here was that this was going to increase jobs in the state. It was going to be worth it. Of course, there were going to be some subsidies provided and tax breaks provided to ensure that this would stimulate the local economy and create new jobs and incentivize Foxconn to build this factory. Now, in classic Trump fashion, the plans imploded and the factory was actually never built, leaving residents in that area furious because many of them had to leave their homes in order to make space for this factory. So Walker planned for $4.5 billion in state subsidies for the project, and it was supposed to employ more than 13,000 people in manufacturing. They were specifically going to manufacture LCD displays. But in the end, the facility that actually did end up getting built was 20 times smaller than the proposed warehouse, and only employs a total of 281 people. So I want to just quickly go to this video featuring Donald Trump talking about the Foxconn factory in 2018. He's gonna, of course, embellish everything, and then I'll give you the reality of what really happened. Take a look.
18 months ago, this was a field. And now it's one of the most advanced places of any kind you'll see anywhere in the world. It's incredible. With the hardworking men and women of Foxconn working with you, moments ago we broke ground on a plant that will provide jobs for much more than 13,000 Wisconsin workers. Really something. I want to wish you good luck and congratulations on truly one of the eighth wonder. I think we can say the eighth wonder of the world. This is the eighth wonder of the world.
I don't think people see it as the eighth wonder of the world. In fact, people in the area are furious. So the state informed Foxconn that the company wouldn't get the first installment of $3 billion because Foxconn wasn't holding up its end of the deal. Under Foxconn's 2017 agreement, with the state, Foxconn would be eligible for the first round of subsidies if it hired at least 520 full-time employees to work on the LCD panel factory by the end of 2019. Foxconn claimed that it had cleared this bar by hiring 550 employees in the state, but Wisconsin found that no, that actually didn't happen. They had only hired 281 employees who counted toward this requirement. And so local residents, John, who gave up their homes, they didn't just willingly give up their homes, they were pushed out of their homes, are now furious because they're like, why did this happen to us? That like, why did this have to happen? I mean, we lost our homes. We didn't actually improve the economy, our local economy. People didn't, we don't have 13,000 new jobs. We were lied to. And so I totally understand their anger and frustration. And what's also infuriating is that these are people who, in my opinion, don't get the type of wall-to-wall coverage that they deserve. This is a gross injustice. And Trump still brags about how he has created the best economy in American history because the stock market's doing well. No, many Americans are really suffering right now.
Yeah, and we saw this with like Carrier, we saw this with his promises to different industries that ended up getting screwed over by his trade policies. We see this a lot. It's one of the areas where if we lived in a different sort of country, his con would have fallen apart. Within 6 months or within a year of becoming president, people would have seen that he's not going to keep his promises. And that more importantly, he doesn't care about any of the specifics of it. The hyperbolic statements in that video that you showed, you could have dragged him in any building. He would have no idea and he doesn't care. He doesn't know about these things, he doesn't care about these things. And this is a case study, is a great example of one of the key components of the Trump mythology that just as of this week, I heard Kayleigh McEnany talking about was he deserves another 4 years because the forgotten men and women of America are forgotten no more. He understood them, he understood their pain, and so he tried to fix the situation for them. But I'm sure you can find many of these Foxconn situations just like this, where he makes these big claims about how amazing these things are supposed to turn out, and then like when it doesn't, when it's horrible and it's a massive waste of money, he's long gone and he doesn't care. It's just another Trump university.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, there were so many red flags, so many warning signs that this was the type of man who had no problem defrauding people in desperate situations. That's exactly what he did with Trump University. He had to, settle lawsuits tied to that fraud to the tune of, I believe it was $22 million. This is just before he took office. That's the kind of person Donald Trump is. So I do also want to talk a little bit about specific people and what they've gone through, because their homes were demolished and they've gotten, honestly, insulting relocation packages in return. So village leaders upended lives in the name of acquiring property for the company, residents say. Some continue to fight for their land while others took inadequate relocation packages and left. A few saw their homes seized by the village. So Sean McFarlane is one of the people who was living in the area, and he says, they demolished my house for this, a bunch of geese that sit on a hill. It's upsetting. That's where my old house was, and now it's just nothing, nothing. And here's what the relocation package was like. So Mount Pleasant offered a relocation payment of $22,000 to McFarlane, who was a renter, and over $500,000 to his mother, Sherry Shaver, who was a homeowner. It also housed McFarlane temporarily in a village-owned home, and the family was shocked to discover as they moved in that it had sat vacant for several years. Now, what happens to a home that just sits vacant for several years? Aside from no heat or working toilets, fun. It had been vandalized, had 3 feet of water in the basement, was mold infested, had doorways that were too small for McFarlane's wheelchair, and its sinks spit out tainted water that left rashes on the kid's skin. Are these the forgotten people that are suddenly remembered by Donald Trump? And is this how he remembers people? By insulting them, by taking their homes for a nonsense PR stunt, and then puts them up in these dilapidated, unsafe structures? It's not even a home. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, sounds haunted. I don't know, 3 feet of water. That almost sounds like an achievement. That's the 8th wonder of the world, that you could get 3 feet of standing water in a basement. Yeah, look, it's sad. I mean, we tried for a very long time, especially early on during the 2016 campaign, to drill into as many people as possible his history as a con man, and maybe we got through to some people, but unfortunately not to a lot of them. And a lot of them either saw something else they liked in him, or liked something else about his rhetoric, and they were willing to ignore. There's nobody. I don't think you can come up with a person in America with a better documented history of years and years and years of conning people, with for any other politician, one random element of it, like the lawsuits over his housing practices, or the Trump University, or the demonizing illegal immigrants while bringing in undocumented immigrants to work in his own properties. Like any one of these things theoretically would be enough to take down any other politician. He is just littered with them, and it didn't matter. It wasn't enough to actually break through.
Yeah, it's so depressing. And Jess from our members section, thank you for writing in. She points out that Governor Tony Evers attempted to nix the Foxconn deal, but Scott Walker and the Republican legislature made it impossible to do so. In fact, if I remember correctly, as Governor Evers was coming in, Republicans in the state did what they could to essentially dismantle whatever power they could dismantle for the incoming governor. So that's the kind of games they play. When Republicans want to play dirty, which is often, they certainly do, even if it harms their own constituents. And so that's what we're dealing with here. Again, this project did not create jobs, but it did cause a lot of harm to people's lives. They were, forced out of their homes, and this is not in any way some sort of economic win for Donald Trump. The only thing that Trump ever resorts to claim economic victories is when he points to the stock market, and the stock market, as we know, doesn't really reveal what the economic situation is for the vast majority of Americans, especially right now as this pandemic continues to tear through the country, and as they as congressional lawmakers still fail to provide another round of relief.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.